Hey everyone, welcome to Homestead Corner. Today I wanted to talk about rationing and how we can reduce things. My husband and I have been going over our bills and things like that with heating costs rising, electricity rising, gas rising, the grocery store bill is rising, everything is going up. So we have been going over stuff to see where we can cut and where we can save to so we don't have to lose everything. Because, once you get behind in one thing, it's really hard to keep up with that. So the budgets are getting really tight. I'm sure all of you are feeling this at your places as well. And we are just trying to look and see where we can squeeze things, shrink things, just save a little bit more so we're able to stay afloat, because this is not going away anytime soon. We have just everything is a damn mess in the economy, and we have to be prepared for it to get worse. And everything I see, every time I hear someone, we got this, we got it under control, it gets flipping worse. So, we've got the inmates running the asylum, and we've got to be prepared for this. So we are looking at different ways that we can cut. And I think that rationing food is one way to start. And don't wait until you have to ration. Start rationing now. And I don't mean go without or anything like that. I'm talking about cutting down to a suggested portion and not just one serving of rice. You need a vegetable, you need stuff to go with it. Two vegetables, a fruit, a drink, but make it a well-rounded meal still, but a serving size of it. I know a lot of people don't think anything about sitting down eating an 8-ounce steak. My family doesn't eat that way. That's just not the way we eat. We normally eat more vegetables than meat. We have smaller portions of meat. When you have a larger family, I think you kind of pay attention to that meat portion size because of the cost of it. So we're looking at making sure that we're getting a full serving and not 2 servings or 3 servings of something, so we can spread our food out over a longer amount of time, the stuff that we have. And we're also making sure that we have for years done a meat-free night, and I think that is another thing that other people can implement in their home. You don't really notice that you're missing the meat one night. There are tons of meat-free recipes that you can have and still get a full belly. You're plenty full and you're getting plenty of nutrients and stuff. One night a week isn't a problem, and we're considering bumping it to 2 nights a week right now, maybe 3, depending on the amount of recipes that I can pull together and get more out of it. So we want to be able to stretch what we have, adding more rice to dishes, adding more pasta to dishes. I know that rice and pasta are kind of fattening, but you gotta fill in where you can with what you have. So adding more beans, adding lentils to dishes, things like that, just to make sure that you're beefing up what you're making and maybe reducing a little bit of the meat or taking the meat out altogether and skipping that. And another thing is being much more vigilant about electricity. We are making sure that every light is off, and with kids it is very difficult. We're constantly following them around. You left your light on, please turn that light off. It's constant, especially with 4 kids in the house, but all those little bits of it being left on add up to a lot of money, especially when we're talking about a possible 80% increase in electricity costs. That is ridiculous. So there are bunches of ways that you can reduce. And I mean, we already live on a pretty bare bones budget. We try to keep our costs down as low as possible. I love the thrift stores and I buy a lot of our clothes at the thrift stores. I'm pretty particular about what I buy. I like to buy name brand stuff and I like to get it so it looks brand new. But the reality is there is tons of that at the thrift store that people throw away. I mean, they give it to the Salvation Army or Goodwill or their local thrift store, and you can get really nice stuff there for really inexpensive. And that has been a huge saver for our family, especially with kids. When they were smaller, they would grow out of them faster, and now they are bigger and they just tear through everything. So we don't have as many hand-me-downs anymore, which I kind of miss, but we do try to get things at the cheapest possible price. And sometimes the thrift stores, some of them are getting absolutely ridiculous, and it's even cheaper to go to a store and look on the clearance rack, things like that, especially the kids' clothes and ourselves. If we know that next year coming up we're going to need something like a pair of winter boots or something like that, if mine are getting real ratty, getting holes, they're starting to leak, I wear my stuff till it leaks or it's got holes in it. I just wear it to death. And I don't have tons and tons of clothes, but every now and then I try to re-up and get some new things into my wardrobe. But boots and things like that, I just wear them until I cannot wear them anymore. And because they are expensive, and we try to buy them at the end of the season. So I know my boots are getting kind of ratty. Then at the end of the season, I would be looking for boots on clearance and things like that, because I can't afford to spend $100 on a pair of boots. That's not something I can afford. It's just another way to save, and not only for your preps, but also for everyday use. You know, I buy pans and things like that. I love to get cast iron at thrift stores, especially those smaller thrift stores, your little local ones. A lot of those are a lot cheaper than your big chain thrift stores like Goodwill, Salvation Army, things like that. We don't have a local Salvation Army, so I haven't been to one in years, so I don't know how their prices are currently, but I know Goodwill city is quite another thing that we do quite a bit, especially in the winter time, and it really helps us, is if the wood stove is running, I try to cook on the wood stove, boil water for tea, you know, cook soups, things like that. If I can cook it on the wood stove and it's running, that saves me from running the electric kitchen stove, which in turn reduces my electric costs. So that is a big one for us that we like to do. And I know that's not for everybody. Everybody doesn't have a wood stove, but if you have got something that gets hot enough that it would boil water or something like that, whatever your heating source is, you can definitely reduce costs that way. Sometimes your little propane tanks are not cheaper than running the electric stove or a crock pot or something. So like today we have a pot of soup on. We're having soup for dinner. So it's been cooking all day. Bean soup. Love it. Another thing, unplugging things that you're not using or things that you really don't need to have plugged in. I know a lot of people use Alexas and those home things you can talk to and have it do your grocery stuff or remind of appointments, or I've never used one of those. I'm old school. I like a pen and paper myself, and you know, I feel like they're too intrusive, and so those are constantly running. They're constantly drawing electricity, even though it's just a little bit. It adds up over time, and it really can get expensive if you just look at the cost for certain items, and especially if it's turning things on and turning things off and stuff like that. That can be huge expenses for you. So that's one thing that we don't have, so we don't have to cut back on that. But we do unplug things that we're not using, like the coffee pot. I don't need the clock running on it all the time. If I'm not using the coffee pot, I unplug it. And it does run a lot. I like it. But at night and things like that, we don't use timers on them or anything like that. We get up, we make the coffee, you know, and as we want coffee, we keep it on. Using a carafe is another great way. Put your coffee in a thermos or carafe or something. It helps keep it nice and hot, and you don't have to leave it plugged in to keep it warm. There are tons of ways that you can cut back. Using less toilet paper. I mean, I'm not saying cut out toilet paper. I love my toilet paper, but just using less of it. My kids get a little obnoxious with it. They'll take 25 feet, you know, to wipe themselves one time. So we try to talk to them about using less and not using so much of it, because all of it is expenses. If you have to buy it more, it all adds up. When you reduce your cost, you're able to put that money in other places. And whether it's to add more to your stockpile, get more food in your home, get extra heating oil that you wouldn't normally be able to afford, things like that. Now is a time to crunch those numbers really and go through before you get behind, because it's so easy to fall behind in your bills. When bills start climbing drastically, it's really easy to get behind really fast, and it is really, really dang hard to get caught back up. You may get behind 2 months behind in one bill, and it might take you a year to get it back on track, and so you're not struggling with it. So staying on top of that and watching as your area, if they announce that there's going to be an increase, prepare for that little thing. Save whatever way you can, whether it's reducing a little bit of your snack foods or reducing the amount you pay on work clothes or whatever you can. Right now is a great time to go over those numbers and reduce your costs so you can put your money where it is best needed, whatever that is for you. I know a lot of people, they've got their pantries full to the brim. They couldn't put anything in there if they wanted. There's no space. They may be working on another area to get supplies or stock up on something, oil for heating for the winter, things like that. Being prepared, extra blankets, having this extra money. Once you pull it out, you've got, you know, maybe it's just a few dollars, but those few dollars add up. Even for stockpiling food and things like that. If you go to the Dollar Tree, $10 is a lot of food. I mean, really, 10 items. So you can do quite well with just $10 to go in another area. So that's one thing that we have been looking at right now. And I think it's important for everybody to just look and see where you can squeeze. Don't get coffee on Friday, or maybe only get coffee one time a week, and bring your coffee every other day. Or I bring my coffee all the time because I'm way too cheap to pay $3 for a cup of coffee. That's a lot. But so but I just thought we would talk about this real quick today, because a lot of people are really feeling the crunch, and things are definitely not going to be getting better anytime soon. And I did see on television, they're touting about this great, big, wonderful, exciting raise for Social Security recipients, the people that get that, and 5.9%. That's wonderful. And then I see this little teeny article, and I will post it in the description down below. I don't hear this on the news, but I found it under some little article online, and talks about how Medicaid Part B, I know my parents are on it, and a lot of people have Medicaid Part B, pays for certain things. And but if you are paying $148 a month, it's going to go up to $170 a month. So any bit of raise you get is going to get taken away. You know, oh, we're going to help with inflation, and then bam, we're going to charge you $90 million more for something else. So these are the things that we need to look at, and I will try to link that article if I can find it again down below. I know I was really like disgusted when I saw that, because inflation is way higher than they're telling us on TV, and you can see it at the grocery store. You can definitely feel it in your pocketbook, and I think that we really need to pay attention to this. It's not going to get better anytime soon. I think it's going to get much worse, and getting ahead of the game, staying ahead of the game is really what's going to help us get through this. And that is it for today. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.